Season 7 is bringing a lot of changes right off the bat, with the sombra rework, some tank adjustments, and even some spicy support changes to switch things up. So let's get right into the new balance patch, starting with the tanks. We knew that Orisa was going to be receiving a nerf to her fortified damage reduction, but it was unknown whether it would be revert to 40% or a middle ground between the two at 45. And now we can confirm that it is at 45%. This is definitely too negligible of a change for Orisa, so in Fortify, she's definitely still just unkillable enough. And this small of a change won't realistically change the amount of time she can die in Fortify in a meaningful way. It'll still be really rough to try to focus her down. Luckily for my fellow tank players, Ramattra has received a very daring buff to his Nemesis form, which now has a 7-second cooldown instead of 8 when you end the form. This will definitely make it a lot more viable to use it early for aggression, without having to worry about being unable to confirm kills later in the fight. This is definitely a good change for Ram, and with the increased armor he gets in his form, there's going to be a lot of clutch fights where he now has 1 less second to get his form back to power up again. It might be a bit much because his Nemesis form really is strong, especially with his block, but it's quite nice to be able to switch between forms more often, without having to worry about being unable to respond properly. Now he can actually live up to the name of the tempo tank that Blizzard was pushing so hard upon its release. The Wrecking Ball changes have once again buffed his primary fire, but now instead of a faster reload, the shots required to reach maximum spread has been increased from 20 to 30, meaning more effective range and more accurate for longer at the start of his clips. This is actually huge, because Wrecking Ball has basically pinpoint accuracy at his low spread, and now the amount of bullets he can shoot almost perfectly has been increased by 50%, and means he can now deal a maximum of 150 damage before his spread gets reset back to normal. Yeah, his DPS potential is pretty underrated, and it's definitely clear that Blizzard is still focusing on his primary fire frontline potential, and making him stronger all without just increasing his raw numbers. Next up is ZARYA, who unfortunately has gotten all the changes that were promised in an earlier dev update, being that 2 out of her 3 projected bubble buffs would be reverted. The projected bubbles are no longer 15% bigger, they're back to 200 HP, but the 2-second reduction on the bubble is still there. It's not the best outcome for ZARYA. And because the health buff on the bubble would also give you 5 extra charge if the bubble fully broke, it's a lot of changes to pull her back, when she wasn't too dominant either. The bubble size was also great to apply on teammates who weren't playing too aggressively but still in the front line to get more consistent energy. But now without a hero that's specifically going aggressive, you'll be unlikely to gain 40 energy off your projected bubble, unless you're peeling someone. Now for all the damage heroes. And first off, mentioned in the Season 7 patch notes is that Bastion no longer receives the 50 healed armor upon transformation, but these have already been hotfixed, and Bastion is still quite good. No big changes to him so far, and he remains a solid pick with a defensive backline. But CASSIDY changes have gone off the deep end. The damage reduction on its roll has been increased from the already crazy 50% to 75%. 75% damage reduction is crazy and is on par with Ramattra's block, even if it's for a split second. This means that you will only take 87.5 damage from Tracer's Pulse Bomb, so make sure to forget looking to stick him anymore as Tracer. You'll have to play to force his roll and then actually hit the ability afterwards. This is the type of change that might make him really strong since it's a clutch defensive block type ability now, but it's more likely to make him annoying to play against rather than propel him into superstardom at the top of the meta. But we'll have to compare him to the rest of the mid-range crew since he's really living up to his bulky nature now, especially with his HP back to 225. Once again, as foretold, Mei has had her deep chill passive removed and her primary fire has been basically returned to normal. It's back to 100 damage per second from 70, and now instead of the deep chill passive buildup, funnily enough, slowly applying the slow effect up until the 75%, the slow effect is always at the base of 40%. This is definitely alright, and combined with a solid damage source and a solid slow, it's nothing too crazy, but it's a lot of pressure when it's placed on a squishy target. And of course, we gotta look at the sombra rework, which has been fully revealed. Let's look at the numbers in detail to really follow what's going on. Because a lot of the abilities build off of each other, having changed together, let's start with her new passive, which has completely replaced the old one, Opportunist. Sombra's machine pistol will no longer do extra damage to her hack targets, including her EMP targets, and will also be unable to see heroes below half health through walls. The damage change is pretty crazy, but made up for in other ways. But keep in mind that just hacking someone will often not be able to kill them outright with just your gun. And in fact, sometimes just shooting them outright, coming out of invisibility and blasting them, can now be a better option. Her passive has been completely replaced by her new stealth form, which is now automatic, placing you into stealth after 3.5 seconds of not shooting, using your new virus ability, or receiving damage. She also will enter the stealth form faster than her old ability used to, at 0.375 seconds instead of 0.5 seconds, and also fade out of it faster, at 0.25 seconds instead of 0.375. This definitely works as a passive, being fluid to enter and exit so you can still play aggressive and flexible. Now, even though the Opportunist passive is gone, Sombra's machine pistol has been upgraded to make up for it, with an increase of bullet damage from 7.5 to 8. Her base damage is now 160 DPS, and her minimum spread has also been brought down to 0, and the amount of shots fired until maximum spread kicks in has been increased from 3 to 6, making her a lot more accurate upon engage. And to help her stay in the front line, her reload speed has been reduced from 1.4 to 1.2, making her one of the faster in the game rather than the middle of the pack. Now for the hack, which definitely establishes her identity as a hero. Her hack cast time has been reduced by 0.1 seconds, from 0.75 to 0.65. This is pretty impactful since it's already one of the hardest abilities to cancel in the game despite only needing to deal a single point of damage to her. Her hack cooldown has also been increased to not make it too crazy in the mid fight, from 4 seconds to 6. Using hack on enemy heroes will now also cancel their stealth form, not while holding it up, but as soon as you start hacking someone in your range. This was a change from the very first Overwatch 2 summer rework. Needless to say, it's been one of the more annoying changes, but now that she can stay in the front line more, it's not always the worst to be forcibly made visible after committing to the hack. If her hack is interrupted by damage, or if it's used on a non-hero like a health pack or a structure, it's also reduced to 3 seconds, which is 1 second faster than before. And now a change for those people hacked by Sombra. If you're hacked, you'll only be seeing the hack effect on your screen while you can't use your abilities, but not for the duration that you can be seen through walls. So make sure to still respect that after being hacked, since the whole enemy team has infosight on you for 10 seconds after the hack is activated. Now for a fresh new ability, which makes up for her machine pistol not being damage boosted by hack anymore, in the form of a projectile that applies 10 impact damage to a single target, boosted to 20 if they're already hacked, and deals 100 damage over 4 seconds, dealt faster instead over 2 seconds against hack targets. Hacking your target will double the damage per second, but not the total damage, so make sure to get the hack in if you're looking for the burst kill really fast. And for her final base ability, her translocator has been changed into basically a Minecraft Ender Pearl, where it flies faster and automatically teleports Sombra 0.25 seconds after being thrown, which is pretty fast, making your ability much more active and much less far. The cooldown has been reduced from 6 to 5 seconds though, so you just have to survive for a little bit before you can re-engage. And even her stealth passive cooldown has been reduced to when you finish your teleport, meaning you'll be able to enter the stealth almost instantly, making for a quick escape. And now finally, her ultimate has been drastically nerfed, with an ultimate charge cost increased by another 15% and the damage dealt to your targets reduced from 40% of their health to 30. You'll definitely have to make a lot out of her normal neutral, which was definitely the goal, so she still looks like a strong hero even though her ultimate is a lot worse. Now with that out of the way, next up is TORBJORN, who has actually received an unexpected hefty nerf. He's been strong for sure, but Bastion has definitely been outperforming and being more of the big villain of the previous Season 6. TORBJORN now has had his primary fire recovery increased from 0.48 to 0.51, making his fire rate slower, but it's still faster than the initial recovery time of 0.55 before Season 6, so he still got away with quite a little bit of a buff. But his overload overhealth has been nerfed too, down to 75 instead of 100, making him a lot more killable and definitely more enticing to just blow up in one engage, without having to worry about too much health to drain. His hitbox is still gigantic, similar to Zenyatta, so without that defensive tool, he might just be dying a lot more. Now for the supports, which are once again just 2 changes. Sorry support players, but Brigitte has gotten an unprecedented damage buff, with her rip shot now dealing 80 instead of 70 damage. This type of buff has never been done before to Brig, but since she's had a lot of more slumps in Overwatch 2, being more of a passive and defensive healer, this will make her more dangerous and increase her burst damage too. She's no stranger to being able to do damage, but this might just be a bit much, since when Brig is strong, she's pretty unkillable. And to round off the hero changes, Iliari has received a healing nerf, with her secondary fire laser heal reduced from 120 to 105. Still a good respectable number, but by no means too overwhelming, considering that she would rather be shooting bullets at the enemy instead. She'll still be able to burst heal 200 HP targets, but heroes like Bastion and Orisa won't be getting crazy leases on life as much when they've overextended or are being heavily pressured. They're definitely a lot more killable, especially with Orisa's changes too. Those are all the changes for competitive play, but there's an entire new mechanic similar to the recent spawn swap change intended to reduce staggering, but only in quick play. Now, heroes that die within 5 seconds to each other will have their spawn time averaged out, so you spawn about the same time. Those who died first, but still within 5 seconds of each other, will get increased spawn time, but those who died after will get decreased spawn time, which is definitely a pretty big change to help your team actually fight together, especially on push maps where without solid team fights you can get massively steamrolled and seemingly have no way back in the game. It's still only for quick play, but it's pretty promising that we've gotten these kind of changes lately outside of just hero balancing, and with the new game mode Flashpoint as well as the new map Samoa, the game is feeling alright. That's it for these past changes, but stay tuned to this channel for the updated tier list for all 3 roles, and thanks for watching.